ACLU filing an amicus brief to support Apple. Talk me through this. What's the argument? Why support Apple?
It's because this is about everyone's phones. This is not just about one phone or one case. It's about encryption being a tool that protects our rights, every user's rights on these smartphones. Right now, Congress hasn't spoken on the issue, and there's been lots of debate on both sides of the political aisle, both Democrats and Republicans. The problem with this one particular case is that if they win in this one case, they will force Apple to create a system that hacks into its own phone. The implications for all iPhone users across the country, across the world even, are enormous. And so you have to think about the dissidents in China, the dissidents in Iran, who rely upon the iPhone as a way to talk about human rights and democracy and the rule of law. And if the US government can force Apple to create a backdoor into the iPhone here, then what's to stop the Chinese or the Iranians from requiring these very same backdoors so they can hack into the iPhones of their human rights activists? Those are the global implications for this debate.
It's this interesting point we're at because you have one side saying this is for national security, this is for the security of the people. But then on the other side, you have almost a very similar argument, which is this is for the security of the people. So where do we go from here?
I think Apple has it right in this case. I mean, I think the government hasn't really shown yet the need for being able to force Apple to hack into its own system, to make its own phones less secure.
You also have the government coming out and saying, what do you say to the families, the victims' families of the San Bernardino attack? What do you say to those folks?
I think you say we're using every means available to us, every means that are lawful. And the fact is that the government should prosecute this case very vigorously. And they have ample tools. I mean, let's not forget that this is a moment when the law enforcement has never had it easier. They've never had greater access to people's access to information from the cloud, from their iPhones, from their web browsing. They have massive information on individuals, including in this one particular case. I don't think the government's shown the burden of proof to say why it is that they specifically need Apple to hack into its own phone for what data that they haven't been able to collect through other subpoenas or other warrants through service providers or on the phone. It's not entirely clear that they're collecting anything new or novel.
What do you tell American people who are listening to someone like Donald Trump saying, boycott Apple products, this is it, they should be able to get into the phone?
Mr. Trump is always very quick to go very reductionist and go to just the smallest of facts in this instance. This is about creating a whole new system, forcing Apple to create a whole new way of breaking into their own operating system. The implications are for everybody's phones. And for Mr. Trump, who's a businessman, who has big, high-flying deals, both domestically and internationally, I'd have to think that he's got to worry also about the security of his own personal information.
I know that your organization has a very close relationship to Edward Snowden. So since all this has been happening, have you talked to him? What's he saying?
I've been in touch with him. It's hard to talk with him. We have to really coordinate our conversations. You know, obviously Ed, who revealed the massive surveillance that the government was taking without government approval, without congressional approval, without the public knowing, has been thrilled, like we, that Apple's finally drawn a line in the sand. It's finally stood up for the privacy rights of its consumers.